In a kingdom far, far away, where towering spires touched the clouds and thick forests stretched beyond the horizon, there lived a princess named Adelheid. She was the jewel of the kingdom, with hair like spun gold and eyes as blue as the deepest seas. But for all her beauty, she was spoiled and willful, raised in luxury, with little regard for those beneath her station. She got what she wanted, when she wanted it, and she had never known true hardship. One late afternoon, as the sun cast long golden rays over the castle gardens, Adelheid wandered toward her favorite spot, the ancient well nestled in the courtyard. Here, away from the watchful eyes of her governesses and the obligations of courtly life, she indulged in simple pleasures. Today she was playing with her most prized possession, a golden ball gifted to her by her father, the king. She tossed it high into the air, watching it glint in the sunlight, reveling in the weight of it against her delicate fingers. But then disaster struck. The golden ball slipped through her fingers, catching the last glimmer of evening light before it plummeted into the depths of the well. The splash echoed in the twilight air, a sound so final it sent a shiver through Princess Adelheid's spine. She leaned over the stone edge, staring into the abyss, her reflection trembling in the dark water. Then came the voice. "Why do you weep, princess?" It was low, thick like the murk of the well, something not quite human. Adelheid recoiled, her silk gown brushing against the mossy stones. Her eyes darted toward the source, a creature barely visible in the dim light, its glistening skin like polished jade. A frog, grotesquely large, its golden eyes peering up at her with unnatural intelligence. "I dropped my ball," she said, gripping the well's edge. "A gift from my father. I must retrieve it." The frog tilted its head. "I can help you." Its throat bulged with each word, the sound slick and damp. "But you must promise me something in return." Adelheid wrinkled her nose. She was a princess, heir to the kingdom, and she would not make bargains with creatures of filth. But her father's rage was not something she wished to endure. "What do you want?" she asked. The frog's lips curled into something almost like a smile. "Your companionship. Let me eat from your plate. Let me sleep upon your pillow. Let me stay by your side until you love me as you would a dear friend." A small price for her golden treasure. She feigned a soft laugh. "I promise." The frog dipped below the water. Moments later, the golden ball surfaced, rolling to the edge. Adelheid snatched it up and turned on her heel, hurrying back to the castle. She never looked back. She never expected the frog to follow. But it did. At dinner, the great oak doors creaked open. A hush fell over the hall as the grotesque thing leapt onto the marble floor. The courtiers gasped, and the king's goblet paused mid-air. A servant stepped forward, aghast. "Shall I?" "No." The frog's voice cut through the room. It turned its gaze to Adelheid. "The princess made me a promise." Her father frowned. "Is this true, daughter?" Adelheid hesitated. It was just a game. A princess does not break her word. His tone was firm. "See to it that our guest is made welcome." With that, her fate was sealed. The frog followed her everywhere. It dined at her table, its tongue flicking out to snatch morsels from her plate. It slept upon her pillow, its cold, damp skin pressed against hers. It watched her with knowing golden eyes. She began to lose sleep. her dreams plagued with whispers of something lurking just beyond her vision, a creeping sense of doom tightening around her like unseen vines. The castle halls, once warm and familiar, now seemed shadowed and foreign, as though unseen eyes watched from every corner. Servants whispered behind cupped hands, their fearful glances lingering on the unnatural guest at the princess's side. "You must complete the ritual," it whispered one night, its breath humid against her ear. She shuddered. "What ritual?" "The one to free me. I gave you food, shelter. What more do you want?" The frog's throat pulsed. "You must throw me against the wall." Adelhaide's pulse quickened. "Why?" "To break the spell." She hesitated. The very thought of touching the loathsome creature made bile rise in her throat. But if it meant being rid of him... She seized the frog in her hands. Its skin was clammy, its body heavier than expected, as though something writhed beneath the flesh. With a cry, she hurled it at the stone wall. The impact sent a sickening crack through the chamber. The frog's body split, but there was no blood, only a writhing mass, limbs elongating, skin splitting. A scream tore from its throat, not of pain, but of something deeper, something ancient. And then he stood before her, the prince, but not as she had imagined. His skin, pale and taut, bore veins slackened like dead roots. His eyes, still golden, still inhuman, bore into her. He stepped forward. "You have freed me." His voice was smooth now, but there was something cruel beneath it. Adelheid backed away. "The curse is broken?" A slow smile stretched across his lips. "No." Something pulled at her gut, an unseen force, twisting inside her, clawing at her ribs. She staggered, a scream choking in her throat. Her hands shrank, fingers webbing together, her skin dampening to a slick green. She fell to the floor, her legs bending, twisting, shrinking. Her mouth opened in horror, but only a croak emerged. The prince crouched beside her, watching with fascination. "The spell needs a prisoner," he whispered. "It has always needed a prisoner." She looked up at him, pleading, but his expression was unreadable. He picked her up, gently, almost tenderly, and carried her to the window. Beyond the castle walls lay the well, the dark water still and waiting. "I understand now," he murmured, more to himself than to her. "I begged for mercy once too." With a final glance at the misshapen creature in his hands, he released her. She tumbled through the air, the stars above, blurring as she fell. And then the water swallowed her whole. Far away in the castle, the prince sat at the banquet table, raising a goblet in a silent toast. And deep within the well, the new frog croaked, waiting for the next princess to come looking for something she lost. Thank you for joining us in the world of Twilight Fables. If you enjoyed this tale and want to hear more stories like this, please subscribe and hit the notification bell for more.